Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a first look at a brand new, and when I say brand new, it has just entered the Supertest today, brand new premium Czech light tank, the VZ68 Squall. This tank is going to be the upcoming premium for the new Czech autoloader autocannon tanks that we just got released in update 1.26, and it's just entered the Supertest today. So what is this tank going to be about? Well, it's going to have the autocannon, basically. It's going to have a clip of 800 damage. It's going to be doing a hell of a lot of shots to be able to do that. It's going to have a clip size of 100 rounds. It's going to do 800 damage in 3.6 seconds, giving it a DPM of 2,100. Okay, that sounds pretty nice. So if it's going to be able to do 800, that's going to be taking away 3/4 of the HP of a fellow tier 8 light tank. Is going to be doing half the HP of a tier 8 medium tank. Remember, that's if it pens all of its shells, which is an interesting thing because, yeah, its standard penetration, which gives you the 8 damage, which gives you the 800 clip potential, is only 182, which will be fine against soft tier 8 light tanks and soft tier 8 mediums. But when you get to the slightly more armored tier 8 lights, so for example, LT432, for example, yeah, you ain't penning that thing frontally, and you will bounce on its side if you hit the side turret, for example. However, it has the same mechanic as the Czech and the other autocannon light tanks, with its premium ammo doing less damage. This premium ammo on this tank is going to give you a penetration increase to 236 from 182, which is significant. But it is going to be doing 2 less damage per shot, reducing your clip potential from 800 to 600, and taking 600 damage off your DPM, taking it down to 1500. But do remember, yeah, the DPM in this tank is not necessarily the most applicable, I guess, because it's not like a traditional tank. This tank is more of a kind of opportunistic kind of, I'm going to go in, you are this HP, I have this clip potential, I'm going to go in and finish you in a very short amount of time. That's kind of how this tank feels like it's played, and obviously it can do the traditional light tank stuff for scouting, which we'll look at in a second. But yes, it's still going to be doing the damage in 3.6 seconds, still going to have the 100 clip size with the premium, but it's going to be doing 200 less damage at 600 instead of 800. Okay. Gun handling. 2.1 seconds aim time. Remember, that does massively bloom out as you are firing. So you'll be aimed pretty quickly initially, but then it's going to bloom out. So as you fire throughout that clip in 3.6 seconds, you will end up with a pineapple bloom by the end of that. And your dispersion is 0.38. Remember, this tank is not to be played at range. You want to be as close as possible to your opponent to make sure that you are hitting those shots, because this thing does not have good dispersion. And remember, it does have lower damage per module. Each shot does. You will still crit tanks and crit modules, but has lower damage versus modules than normal tanks, because obviously you're putting 100 rounds in to a tank. Yeah, if it had the same damage per module, your ammo rack will set something on fire every single clip. So I'm glad they sorted that. Speed-wise, 53. It's not going to be a particularly quick light tank. That's not the quickest, but it's also not the slowest. 21 reverse, once again, not the quickest, not the slowest. It's kind of mediocre. You're going to have 6 degrees of gun depression, so you are going to kind of be able to work small ridge lines and small undulations in the terrain, which is always nice for a light tank, because that's kind of where you're going to want to be playing. Armor-wise, completely negligent. It is just non-existent. You have 20 on the hull, 30 on the turret. Just, this thing is a HE magnet, similar to the other Czech light tanks. They are just HE magnets. You do have 1,100 HP, which is just standard for tier 8 lights at this point. So, you know, think of that as what you wish. You will be 2 clipped by a fellow Squall, for example, if it's firing gold, and you will be 1.5 clipped if it's firing standard. But what about its scouting capabilities? Well, its stationary camo is going to be 18.24%, which is pretty nice. It's not the worst. And then obviously moving camo is going to be the same. And obviously, for example, you probably want to be running vents on this tank. You can get that up, the view range up from 390 to 393. And for example, if you're taking, I don't know, a proper scout build, say for example you've got Prokhorovka, you'll want to be taking your low noise exhaust, and then probably either CVS, probably CVS. You can also drop the vents then for a commander's vision system, which is what we'll test now and see what we can get that view range up to. Where is that CVS? I am going blind today. Never mind. Can it run CVS? I've already got CVS on. I am stupid. For example, you want to run the optics. You want to run this. You can get your stationary camo down to 24%, which is pretty nice. And your view range up to 423. This thing does not have the best view range. So do bear that in mind. 423. And remember, this is, you know, for example, if we were to run Bond optics, what can we get that up to? Bond optics, 430. So it is going to be on the lower side of view range, so don't expect it to be the best scout, but it does have decent camo and the view range is passable, essentially. But I think the best way we're going to be able to compare this tank and figure out actually how good this tank is to compare it to its tech tree version, the Blesk, which is obviously now in the game. It's now playable. As you play your way up the line towards the Tessak, you will play the Blesk, which is, I believe, the first autocannon you will meet along the line. So, how does it stack up? Well, it's got, on base values, less DPM, better penetration. So, you trade off a little bit of, you know, you trade off 100 DPM effectively, or sorry, 70 DPM to get, you know, 20 better, 19 better penetration. I think that's a good trade. Your damage standard round is higher, so you do have, for each shot you do, you'll be doing 2 more damage. So effectively, the Blesk has the same damage as the Squall's premium, but the Blesk has worse standard penetration than the Squall's standard penetration. Same reload time, so you're both going to be reloading in 19.18 seconds, and the Blesk has a slightly smaller clip of the Blesk has a larger clip of 140 compared to the Squall, which gives it its better damage per minute. And slightly better clip damage because of that. 840 for the Blesk, whereas 800 for the Squall. But the Squall will be clipping out quicker. Its intra-clip is going to be 3.6 seconds compared to the Blesk's pretty much 4 seconds. So far, gun-wise, they're looking pretty similar, just with the Squall having slightly better stats, but then it trades off some other stats to its tech tree version. But pretty similar. The Blesk, the tech tree version, does carry more shells, which, I don't know, is interesting, I guess, giving it a slightly more higher potential damage. But the gun handling is where the Squall, the premium version, is just going to be far superior. It has better aim time, 2.11 compared to 2.3. It has better dispersion, 0.38 to 0.4. And then just its general gun soft stats whilst moving, whilst traversing, whilst tank traversing, whilst turret traversing, are just all better by 0.02, which is significant, I guess, but it's not the most significant. However, you are going to have less gun depression with the Squall compared to the Blesk. The Blesk has 10 degrees, which is very, very nice for a light tank. However, the Squall only has 6, so think of that as what you wish. And you are going to be slower with the Squall, 53 compared to 60 for the Blesk. The Blesk is a pretty quick tier 8 light, but 53 is still passable. It's not going to be the slowest, for sure. And then obviously your soft statistics, so your power to weight is worse, your train resistances are worse in the Squall compared to the Blesk, but once again, 53, not terrible, and its train resistances aren't significantly worse, so trade that off as what you wish. Armor-wise, you have slightly better armor, but once again, 20mm compared to 15mm is just irrelevant. It doesn't make a difference. You are still going to be penned by HE. Pretty much any HE you face will still pen you, apart from some tier 6. But camo-wise, they're identical. The only thing which is slightly interesting is after firing, the Blesk has slightly better camo, and the moving camo, after firing, once again, slightly better. Interesting. Don't know why. 2.12 compared to 2.46 is what it is. Such a minute change that it's not really going to have any effect on this tank's scouting capabilities, but its view range is identical. And interestingly, and I mean, I guess it pays off because one's premium, one's not. The Squall has a more expensive shell cost standard compared to the Blesk. So the Blesk is going to be cheaper to play, but it's not premium, so it's going to make less credits. So what do I actually think about the Squall? Well, it's going to be an interesting tank, in my opinion. I think it looks really cool. I think the whole autocannon line looks pretty cool. But as we've seen so far with the new Czech lights, which are now on the live server, their game impact is very dictated to by the opponent they're facing. If, for example, you are playing the Squall and you are facing against an LT432, the LT432 will beat you on scouting capabilities, it has more armor than you, so it can bounce your shots, and it will just out DPM you, and yeah, it will just be significantly better than you. Similar to if you're playing a Squall and you're against an EOC even 90, yeah, you will have better firepower than the EOC even 90, but the EOC even 90's scouting capabilities are far, far, far superior. And that's where I feel like the Czech lights are going to be difficult to play and are going to have reduced game impact compared to other light tanks, is just because they kind of don't do anything particularly well apart from their firepower. But firepower on the light, especially a tier 8 light, is very almost not it's almost irrelevant in a sense. It's you kind of use your gun in a last case scenario, I feel, for most lights, but this kind of forces this tank to its lack of ability to be a good scout kind of forces it to play almost as if a medium, but a medium with a light tank gun. So it's really difficult, and it's got a really challenging play style, and actually trying to figure out where it fits into the game, fits into the matchmaker, is going to be difficult. But I think the Squall will be no worse than the Blesk. It will be slightly better than the Blesk, in my opinion, just because it's going to have that premiumness to it. I don't know, almost like rose tinted glasses. It's going to be a premium tank, so it always feels better to play a premium tank than a tech tree tank. But it's definitely not going to be anything special. It's going to be interesting. Whether we will see this tank soon, I don't know. It's likely we may see it as part of the Christmas boxes, if we don't see it as part of the Halloween boxes, which are going to be coming towards the middle end of September. If we don't see it in the Halloween event, I'd say we definitely will see this tank around Christmas time. Similar to how we're probably going to see the WZ66 Grom, the tier 8 Polish TD for the Błyskawiczka line, which was released earlier this year. But yeah, my opinions on this tank are kind of mixed. I think it's going to be on probably the lower end of average, but do let me know down in the comments what you think about this tank. Do you think it's going to be good? Are you playing through the Tessak line right now? What do you think about it? Have you been fully clipped by a Tessak? Because I've seen some clips. Yeah, and if you did like this video, I've tried to get it out as quickly as possible for you to give you an idea of what's going on. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!